In the previous movie, I showed you how to create a formula to calculate correlation between two sets of data. In this movie, I'd like to show you a quick way to set up a grid so you can analyze the correlation between multiple columns of data. My sample file is 0506 multiple correlation, and you can find it in the Chapter 5 folder of the exercise files collection. As you can see on the left, starting in column A, I have 4 sets of data. Each of them contains 10 rows or 10 values. And then over on the right, starting with labels in column F, I have a grid set up so that we can examine the correlation between pairs of columns. You are always performing your correlation analysis between one set of values and another. So let's start by creating a formula that we can copy to other cells and will let us set up the grid efficiently. I'll start in cell G6, so I'll type an equal sign, and I want to find the correlation. So that's the CORREL, or correl function. And I'll press tab. And our first array will be in column A, so I'll select A3 through A12, and I want to make these references absolute or unchanging. So I'll click in the middle of A3, press F4. That's on Windows. On the Mac, you would press Command T. And I'll do the same thing for A12, so I'll press F4. And then I'll click to the right of the cell reference, type a comma, and now I want to repeat A3 to A12, but make it a relative or changing reference. So A3 colon A12, right parentheses and enter, and I get a correlation of 1. And that is exactly what I want. I am correlating a column with itself, so of course the values move exactly as one would expect, so the correlation is 1. If you get a different value, you did something wrong. Now I want to create another version of that formula for column B. So in G7, I'll type an equal sign, correlation, and it'll be B3 to B12. And again, I want to make the references absolute. F4, not 4. There we go. Then a comma and A3 through A12 because we're comparing column 2 to column 1. So A3 to A12. And again, we want to make this changing. Right parentheses and enter. And we have a small negative correlation. Same in G8, so equal. Correlation. C3 to C12, make those references absolute. Then comma and A3 to A12. And enter. And last one, equal. Correlation, I'm working in cell G9. That will be D3, absolute, to D12, absolute, pressing F4, comma, A3 to A12, and enter. Great. So I have my formulas, and now I can copy them over to column 2, 3, and 4, H, I, and J of the worksheet, so that I can calculate correlations between each pair of columns. So I'll select cells G6 through G9 and drag the fill handle over. And the first thing I note, and this is a good sign, is that anytime I compare a column with itself, I get a correlation of 1. So between column 1 and column 1, column 2 and column 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4, I get correlations of 1. So along the main diagonal of this grid, I see that I have the correlations that I'm looking for. Another way that I can check my values is to ensure that column 1 and column 2, when column 1 is a row header and column 2 is a column header, I need to make sure that produces the same result as when I have column 2 as the row header and column 1 as the column header. So it looks like my values, even though they are duplicated within this grid, they are accurate. So if I want to compare column 2 to column 3, I can do it here, or I can do it here, and I will get a correct result based on my calculations.